And the department I work is in pretty much all over the place, archives, library, front desk, and I enjoy each and every bit of that experience here.
I'm like a floater. I do everything. I work. I work for the library. I do jobs for Marjan and also the front desk. So wherever they need help, that's where I am.
When I had some time left over in my schedule, I decided that I'd like to come back and spend more time here. I'm particularly interested in Asian art, so that's what drew me particularly to the Sackler Freer.
Well, my background is art history. I've worked at various art museums all my adult life. So after retirement and moving to Washington, I've always loved the Smithsonian. I have a lot of respect for it, and I've come from an academic background, and the Smithsonian fills all of that.
My main occupation was being a housewife and a mother. So when my son was a little bit more independent and doesn't require full-time care, I wanted to look for something interesting to do. And the then curator, Joe Knapp, was a friend of mine, said, why don't you become a docent?
I spent my life doing research and analysis, and so I'm looking at collections of people that were donated. In both cases, they needed to be kind of organized and set up and cataloged in a way that a researcher could use them. And so that's basically the special skill I bring.
As a radiologist, I was hiding behind the films and not seeing patients too many times. But as a docent, you are meeting very interesting people every time I do the tour.
I feel almost an obligation to get other people interested in Asian art and culture and belief systems. I'm very much interested in Asian belief systems.
In America, you're not old till you're old. So if you work professionally or you want something else to do, you have this wonderful opportunity to work in wonderful museums. And it's really, you get something back in return.
Whenever I visit other places, the first thing I do, or the first thing that is in my schedule is, go and visit the museum.
I began my training in '87 when this was the only Asian art museum on the mall. Sackler Gallery was still more or less a hole in the ground, and so it's exciting to see a new museum being born.
Because we don't have hordes of people all coming in at once, we have a chance to really talk to people.
Of course I love being around the objects. Often I take a little detour on my tea break and go through an exhibit for the 25th time.
This gallery gives you, so many varieties, you name it, you have it here, and such a great place to be.
I enjoy the fact that I'm, by academic training and former research training, my PhD is in Asia, that I get to work on Asia and the Middle East, which were my two PhD topics.
Less than 2 weeks ago, I gave a talk, or a tour rather, for 6 or 7 people. And they kept me on beyond my usual hour. And one woman kissed me on the cheek, spontaneously. So I'm not bragging, I'm just saying that you never know what to expect.
A very nice couple passing through. I gave them a tour. They followed me the whole time. It was a highlight of Freer. And I took them to the Peacock Room. And only after all my stories about the Peacock Room, they revealed their identities. And they were the children of Colonel Hecker, who was the business associate with Mr. Freer. We were way back, and he said he remembered that room and seeing that room in Freer's house. And I thought that was really quite interesting.
I just love being here. I love walking through the door and feeling like I belong in this amazing place. There's always something truly fascinating that will come across my desk.
There are also big jigsaw puzzles, and I like puzzles. And that's what this is about, putting papers in an order that makes them useful.
If you take from society, you have to return to society. For those of us who are retired, we get something in return. I mean, it gives us something to do, something we enjoy. We have interaction with people from everywhere. So I can't think of anything better than doing what we do.
I recommend volunteering. The Smithsonian is such an incredible asset to our city and our country. And I think that those of us who have a chance to give some of our time to keep everything going certainly would be well rewarded to do so.
Everybody works hard to make the museum available to many visitors.
Not only are we representing the Smithsonian, but we have a lot of people from other countries. So we're representing the United States as well. So to me, it's important to give them as much information as possible.
I've learned a lot since I've been here. I've never worked in the archives, but I think all my life I've wished that I were an archivist.
The behind-the-scenes program the Smithsonian has is excellent for people that are interested in the subject area or want to learn something new.
Sometimes things that I have seen here or that I have learned here will just fit in very naturally with something that, a novel that I'm reading.
I learn each and every day there is a new learning experience here. That's what is bringing me back to the museum, because I came with no archive experience before, and I've never worked transforming library books into digital, all that experience. So it's non-stop learning. If you're ready for a challenge, this is the place to be.
Through the art, I learned many cultures and people and so forth. Religious thoughts and objects and different media.
I also enjoy the people very much who I work with. I have much respect for them and for their knowledge and their academic success, and also as friends.
Being a volunteer makes me feel smarter. I know things that I didn't know before, and every time I leave here, I go home with my head just full of stuff. And my husband or my family or my friends are all waiting to hear what kind of an adventure I've had that day.
It's a very rewarding experience to be a volunteer, and you work with lovely, lovely people. So I look forward to it every week.
The people that I work with and the community, the visitors, museum, this whole area is incredible. It's hard to just break it into pieces. It's the whole package.
It's probably not for everyone, but it's for me.
I hope to be here for a long time while there is work to do.
This is a marvelous institution, and I don't think I'll leave until they ask me to leave, and I hope that's not for a long time.
I volunteer because it's very rewarding, fulfilling, and I'm very grateful for this beautiful experience.
I volunteer at the Smithsonian because it's mentally stimulating.
I volunteered as a docent at Freer Gallery because I always enjoyed visiting museum, and I was hoping to make other visitors make visit to the museum more rewarding.
Well, I volunteer here among other places because when I retired I wasn't ready to roll into bed and die. I wanted to keep doing things, and I wanted to do things that kept me active and interested.
I volunteer because I love going to museums, I love art, and this is a chance for me to really learn the meaning of the art.
I volunteer because it keeps my mind working, and it introduces me to lots of interesting ideas and people.